Good morning, boys and girls, and happy Easter. How many of you, when you hear those two words, happy Easter, think of something like this? An Easter basket filled with Easter eggs. Or maybe you think about Easter bunnies. Or maybe you think about a wonderful dinner at Grandma's house. None of those things are wrong. It's perfectly okay to think of those things at Easter. But they're not the reason we have Easter. Easter is all about this. The cross. Jesus died on the cross, and then 3 days later, after his death on the cross, he rose again, and he lives forevermore. That is the whole reason that Jesus came to this earth. Jesus came to rescue us from our sin. In our study of Jesus the Messiah over the past several weeks, we've learned so much about the life of Jesus. But today's story is the whole reason that he came to earth. Jesus came to die on the cross and to rise again. And we thank him for what he did for us on the cross. Well, if you did think of Easter baskets and Easter eggs, don't feel too bad, because even in today's introduction, Jesse is a little confused himself. But don't worry, Megan makes sure that he understands the real reason for Easter. Let's listen.
Hey friends, I'm Megan.
And I'm Jessie. I am so excited. Today is Easter, Megan.
Me too, Jessie.
I got an Easter basket full of candy. I can't wait to eat my chocolate-covered pickles. Then, this afternoon, I'm going to an Easter egg hunt.
That sounds so fun, Jessie. But I think you're forgetting something.
Let me think. Easter basket, check. Candy, check. Easter eggs, check. Chocolate-covered pickles, check. Yeah, I think I covered everything, Megan.
Actually, you missed the most important part.
I did?
Yes, Easter is about Jesus. We celebrate Easter because of Jesus. Jesus died on the cross to rescue people from sin, and God raised him from the dead. Jesus is alive.
Oh yeah! Jesus is better than Easter baskets and chocolate-covered pickles.
He sure is. Let's listen to the story from the Bible of how Jesus rescued the world from sin on that very first Easter. An angry crowd took Jesus away to the religious leaders. They wanted to find a reason to kill Jesus, but Jesus had done nothing wrong. They took him to Pilate, the governor. Pilate's soldiers made a crown of thorns and put it on Jesus' head. They put a purple robe around him and pretended to bow down to him. Then they led Jesus away. Jesus was nailed to a cross. They put a sign above Jesus' head that said, "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews." 2 criminals were put on crosses next to Jesus. Darkness covered the land. Jesus cried out, my God, why have you abandoned me?" Jesus died and was buried in a tomb. A large stone was rolled in front of the tomb, and Pilate's soldiers guarded the tomb so that no one would steal Jesus' body. On the 3rd day, 2 of Jesus' friends, both named Mary, went to the tomb. They were very sad. Suddenly, there was a big earthquake as an angel came down from heaven. The angel rolled away the stone and sat on it. The guards fainted. The angel spoke to the women. "Do not be afraid. Jesus is not here. He has risen from the dead, just as he said he would." The women were so happy. Jesus was alive. They left the tomb to tell Jesus' disciples the good news. Just then, Jesus greeted them. The women worshiped him. Jesus said, "Do not be afraid. Tell my brothers to go to Galilee. They will see me there." Jesus appeared to Peter and then to his other disciples. Then Jesus appeared to more than 500 people who followed him. Many people saw with their own eyes that Jesus is alive. The most important thing that ever happened is that Jesus died and was raised from the dead. We can believe that Jesus is alive. When we turn from sin and trust in Jesus, we have hope and new life. Jesus brings forgiveness and life with God forever.
All right, boys and girls, let's see how well you were listening to today's story. Today, instead of just questions, I'm going to let you be interactive with me. If you think what I say is true, I want you to give me a thumbs up. If you think what I say is not true or is false, I want you to give me a thumbs down. Okay? Let's try together. Number 1, Jesus never sinned. What do you think? That is true. Jesus never sinned. And that's why he could be the sacrifice for our sins. Next, Jesus was put on a cross. What do you think? Yes, that is true. Next, 6 criminals were put on crosses next to Jesus. No, that is not true. 2 criminals were put on crosses next to Jesus. Good. Next, Jesus was buried in a tomb. What do you think? Yes, that is true. Very good. A large door was locked on the tomb. No. A large stone was rolled in front of the tomb. Good. Next, 2 women named Ava went to the tomb. I don't think so. Not Ava, it was Mary. 2 women named Mary. Good. The angel said, "Do not be afraid. Jesus is not here. He has risen from the dead." That is true. Good job. Next, the women saw Jesus and worshiped him. That is true. Very good. 3 people saw Jesus alive. No, that is false. More than 500 people saw Jesus alive after he rose from the dead. And that's how we know, boys and girls, it wasn't just a few people that saw him alive. More than 500. We know this is true, and we're so thankful. Today, I want to share with you a missions video that was made by the International Mission Board. It is an artistic demonstration of the crucifixion and the resurrection, and it is just beautiful. I hope you enjoy this.
This is the story of God. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. God created man in his own image, and God saw everything that he had made, and it was very good. God placed man in a garden and told him not to eat from a certain tree. But man disobeyed God's command. And sin came into the world through Adam, and death through sin. And so death spread to all men because all sinned. But God loved man and made a plan. Man would make a sacrifice to cover his sins. But this was only temporary and was not the perfect sacrifice. Jesus, God's Son, came from heaven as a baby, born to a virgin mother in a humble stable, and lived a perfect life. He kept God's commands and loved and helped people. Jesus came to be the true sacrifice for the whole world. Jesus gave his life by dying on the cross to become the perfect sacrifice, to pay the price for our sins. God showed his love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Jesus died, was buried, and 3 days later rose from the grave. Jesus ascended to heaven and will one day come again.
Okay, boys and girls, I hope you enjoyed that. I thought it was a beautiful, beautiful story, the way that they did it. Guys, if you want to take some time this week to read this week's story with your family, you can find it in all 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. But the reference that was made today was to chapter 26, 27, and 28 of the book of Matthew. I would love to know that you're taking time with your family to read these stories together. I do hope you have a very happy Easter, and remember that Jesus is the reason we celebrate.